Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be checking out some supplies sent to me by Phoenix Art Materials. Thank you to Phoenix for working with me in this video. And we are going to be starting a new painting. Now, usually I don't take companies up on their offers, but they were offering me something that I haven't used before, which were water soluble oil sticks. And so that was kind of my reasoning for wanting to try them out. I will let you hear the canvas noises. So yeah, they sent me a 2-pack of 24 by 36 inch Master Series heavy duty canvases. These have a nice depth to them, crossbeam in the back, acid free, triple primed, all that sort of thing. I was curious about like the cost aspect of it, and I think when you account for the stretcher bars and the gesso and the labor and the actual canvas itself, it's pretty comparable. Now, you do have to buy two of them, which is kind of unfortunate if you only really wanted one. But along with the canvases, they sent me a 24 pack of their water soluble oil sticks. These are kind of like a big oil pastel, but they are compatible with oil paint. You can paint on top of them, and you don't have to deal with any issues about because I think pastels don't dry down fully unless you put a fixative, and then there's all kinds of logistical issues. But I'm starting out with the light red here, which the pigment for it is a synthetic oxide red, and I am starting out a new in transit painting here. This is one that I've had the sketch for a hot minute now, maybe since October or something. And I tried painting it small at first, but I think I really wanted to get kind of the full body pose in there, and so it just made sense to put it on this big old canvas. You can see me struggling to peel the first oil stick. This is a skill issue on my part, but for oil sticks, part of the prep is that you do have to peel the skin off, and that's because they are basically just oil paint in a stick form, and so over time the outside kind of cures, and so you need to peel away the old crusty stuff to get to the fresh paint underneath. Here now I am going in with ultramarine blue to kind of correct my sketch and add in some more depth. I made the head too big on the first attempt. This is my first time painting kind of bigger in a minute, and so I was having to kind of get used to the physiological differences between when you're painting big versus painting small. Being able to, like, having to step back further to kind of see the painting as a whole, and the way that you use your arms in a different kind of way. I will say for the oil sticks, I think you do have to paint big. I wouldn't use these on anything smaller than like maybe a 16 by 20, but even then, I guess also depends on what you're going for, but they are they're simultaneously precise in the sense that you could use them like a marker or a pencil or something, but imprecise because they are so big and chunky. And so, yeah, I guess it depends on what you are going for with your artwork. But I was kind of glad to have the extra space to play around with them on this bigger canvas. I was expecting these to be wetter, which is kind of why I'm wearing gloves. I was kind of expecting them to go all over the place, but they weren't super wet. I mean, they are wetter than an oil pastel. And you'll kind of see once I start mixing in more colors the way that they start mixing upon themselves. But yeah, they were not super wet. I think, if I were to guess, I think this is due to the water solubility. I say that because I do use water soluble oil paint in tubes from other brands, and they are similarly not as wet as their full oil counterpart, which is, it's not an issue per se. It's just something I'm noting. For me, the reason why I was excited to try out these oil sticks and why I've been wanting to try out oil sticks is for this reason that you're seeing here. It's for kind of the prep work for a painting. You can see me needing to peel the first kind of quadrant of label away and struggling to do so. Again, I would say more skill issue than really a manufacturing issue, but yeah, I really wanted to try out oil sticks for this purpose. And now you'll see me pulling out the spray bottle because I was finding that the sides just weren't activating as much as I wanted to. And so I found it useful to be able to just kind of wet the canvas a little bit and then get the paint going that way. Again, kind of speaking to the dryness. But anyway, sorry, I keep interrupting myself. I want to comment on everything. I wanted to try these out because I wanted to use them for sketching and kind of prepping a painting. I have been interested in trying to kind of incorporate more illustrative aspects to my painting work. And mainly that's coming from like incorporating line and that sort of flatness or simplification that illustration is so great at. And of course, illustration is not really a style; it's more of a genre. But that's neither here nor there. Okay. Um, there's a painter that I really love, Hannah Wilson, and they don't use oil sticks, but they do really focus on line work in their paintings. And for me, I thought it would be really fun to try to kind of incorporate that with something that is so line oriented. You kind of have you are making lines when you're using oil sticks. To put it in terms that I wish were more uh sophisticated, but I digress. And so yeah, I think for me, I don't know if I would be able to make a complete painting with these sticks, and there's kind of multiple reasons for that. There's a sensory kind of block for me and like a mental block where I don't really love it when my materials get dirty upon each other. I I don't know. I just think it's kind of icky, and obviously it's fine. Um, Pausing here to mention that there's little kind of globules of oil stick on the canvas. Obviously, if you were gonna paint on top of it, it's not a big deal, but it's just like generally not a big deal. But it's kind of like an oil pastel if you've used those before, where they kind of flake. This lemon yellow also had a little bit of the foam stuck to it. It was kind of giving Jaclyn Hill lipstick in 2019, but it's okay because you have to peel it anyway. So it's not a big deal. Just something I was noting. What was I talking about before? That's the problem when you're trying to do the commentary live while also watching it. Yeah, I don't like it when my materials kind of get messy on each other, just kind of icks me out. And obviously, as you're using it, it kind of cleans itself, but it's something that I've struggled with other materials. It's not exclusive to just this experience here. But then also, I am just kind of a maniac when it comes to mixing color. I like being able to mix the colors that I want, even if I end up completely going over them after. And so, for me, the mental gymnastics it would require to kind of go between like five different sticks to mix a color that I want just doesn't seem viable to me. And especially because I have a preference I think for more opaque colors just because you can almost treat it like digital artwork in the sense where you can just kind of go over it again and again to get where you want to. Whereas I found that the colors that I was using, and keep in mind, I didn't use all of the colors in this sort of underpainting, but a lot of them were transparent. And so I think I would struggle with getting the colors that I wanted in a fully finished work and also kind of building up the surface that I want to. I do have some kind of chronic wrist and elbow pain from living the life I have thus far. And so having to press down really hard and kind of fight the surface to build up pigment is just something that I can't do, and I am not willing to do. Um, I wish I could and would, but I, I just have to pick my battles, and that's just one of them. And so, for those reasons, I am highlighting these products in the way that I actually intend on using them in my studio, and that is to make the underpaintings or underdrawings for paint to go on top of. And for that, I think they're great. I think it is expressive in a way that a brush is not. And obviously, brushes can be very expressive, but it's just a different kind of mark making that I really enjoyed. It does just kind of feel like you're scribbling with crayons in a really satisfying way. You can see I wanted to highlight some other colors that weren't just like brown and blue. So I believe I used cadmium red deep or lizard crimson for the bag. I don't necessarily remember. And then I used lemon yellow for the shoes and kind of in the window a little bit. I'm going with burnt umber right now to kind of darken up some areas. And then I used light green in the window as well. And eventually I'll go in with the colorless blender, which I honestly didn't love, but I wanted to try it. I think it makes sense for areas like this pant here where it's a field of color and it kind of colors in the in between, but it doesn't like stretch the color outside of itself well necessarily. Um, and so I probably wouldn't use that again. I think also another constructive note is just that you can't buy them open stock, which makes me sad. Uh, in my case, I probably will use up the light red and ultramarine blue first. And so if I want those colors again, I would have to buy the whole set again, which sucks. Price wise, it makes more sense for them to sell them in sets and it makes it cheaper for you when you buy a bigger set. But I think giving consumers the option of being able to buy open stock is good. They do have some smaller sets. There's like a liner set that's only 6, and then there's some that are 12. But yeah, I think in the future, if they could have, even if you had to like buy 2 of a color at a time, I think that would be good. But yeah, that's this painting thus far in my first impressions with these products. I do have a coupon code or affiliate code. If you want to use it, you don't have to, but I'll leave it in the description. And yeah, thank you for watching. See you next time.